Good morning, Rockstars! Welcome to our very first FMQ Friday. My name is Holly and I have String Story, and it's my job to guide you to quilt with confidence. Now, this morning we're going to spend some time talking about the Quilting Rockstar panels. I'm so excited about this because I've been working for months. Hello, sweet Havana! To bring these out into the world. The whole goal of the Quilting Rockstar panel and thread collections, oops, we don't want that heavy, is to make it as easy as possible for you to practice free motion quilting without having to piece the quilt. Because piecing the quilt takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money. Why are you adding to, no, stop talking loud. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money, and then it can make it more nerve-wracking to actually quilt the thing, especially if you are a new free motion quilter. So, welcome, I am so excited that you are here. I am going to pin a quick resource. Having to get down low. Thank you. Thank you for attending, Mara. I'm going to pin a quick resource here in the chat, and then I have, Shane, I'm thrilled that you're here. I have the panels right here. We're going to walk through them together. Today is going to be a bit of an introduction, and I'm going to tell you about the different types of panels, ways you can use them, what's going to be coming up as far as help for you with quilting these, and then I actually have a basted Lanterns of Hope panel here. If we have some time, we might do a little bit of quilting together. Now, I will ask for your patience with my sound. I'm still in the new studio. Actually, what you can't see at the moment is I have clothing racks with quilts on them, kind of trying to surround me to tamper the echo a little bit, but we are in the process of researching a microphone. So as these go on over the next few weeks, the sound should improve. All right, ready, Harry? Let's show off some quilt panels. You ready? All right, let's do it. All right, so we will start with the fall-winter colorway. This is what I consider, the classic String and Story colors if you've been around for a minute. These coordinate with the Quilting Rockstar White collection that came out a couple of months ago. These wonderful navy, orange, mustard, light blue, and gray colors. She's been acting, like how kids will go and they'll hide in the clothing racks at like Target or whatever. That's what Hannah has been doing lately. All right, so first up we have the Star Island. Each of these panels is based off of an existing String and Story pattern. And the reason for that is so that if you like it, you fall in love with it, you figure out a quilting plan you want, you can treat these as a rehearsal. And then you can use the pattern to piece it in any colorway that you want and make it very especially yours, all right? So this Star Island quilt panel is one of the two quilt panels. It's approximately lap size, as you can see. Over on my website, I've got all the exact dimensions, but I'll be honest that I have not memorized them. And this is the fall-winter colorway for this. What I love about this, notice that all of the panels will have a little bit of kind of white space around them, but for the Star Island panel, man, messing up my folding. Get up. Boop. For the Star Island panel, you actually could piece 4 or 6 of those together and make a bed-sized quilt very, very easily. And think about the fact that, so if you, this is, I think it's 42 inches square. So if you pieced 4 of those together, you would have an 84-inch square quilt. You got that. Had a couple of borders on that, and that's a bed-sized quilt, right? And that would cost, let's see, this panel is, $17. You're looking at what, maybe like 60, 70 bucks if you count the border fabric to piece a queen-size bed quilt, right? And versus the $200 or $300 that you would be spending if you did that all with fabric. And the ability to practice a bed-sized quilt like that, amazing. Yes, Charlie, we are still working on our sound here in the new space. So I've got some quilts up for some sound help, but it will be improving in the coming weeks. All right, next up, this is the winter colorway of the Placemats panel. Sawtooth Stars Placemats, seating for 6. This would be really great practice for an all-over design, and then you chop them apart, right? You chop on the edges, throw on some binding, and you would have 6 placemats. They're all different placemats, but you could do these either with some semi-custom quilting or an all-over design. Super quick way to brighten up your table if you've got a big dinner party coming up, a special birthday maybe. But also a great gift or gift idea or housewarming idea that wouldn't take a lot of time. Again, right? Everything about these is about saving you some time and some money so that you can get the practice you need to become a confident free motion quilting rock star. The biggest roadblocks that I hear about, are I'm afraid of ruining my quilt. That's really, that's the big roadblock that folks come back to again and again. So I worked with Paintbrush Studio Fabrics to try to eliminate that. This is the table runner in the winter colorway. These lovely little octagons. Now these as well, notice that you have some space between these octagons, and you can actually cut this down to block size and then repiece it if you wanted to have a fun octagon quilt block quilt top. But this is also 3 table runners. Again, great way to spruce up a table. 3 table runners, that's your main table, a sideboard, and maybe an entryway table, and boom, seasonal decor, done. This is the fall colorway of the Placemats. And one of the Rockstars pointed out that this is actually a really great size for a tote bag front as well. So you could cut out this placemat, sew a couple of these together, maybe even sew with some strips to make it a boxy tote bag. And so picture it this way, that the top of your tote would be the piano keys. How fun is that, right? Ugh, the versatility. I love versatility. Now, I've pinned a link at the top of the chat, so if you're looking at these going, oh my gosh, definitely need to do that, then you'll find that link there. You can go check it out. Let's do this one first, even though it's basted. And also on that page, you're going to find a few other links. So you'll find a link to the shop where you can get the panels, coordinating solids, coordinating thread. Everything you need to make this as easy as possible, right? You're also going to find a link to sign up for my newsletter. I'm going to have YouTube videos and blogs coming out each week for the next 7 weeks, talking about how to quilt these, walking through different quilting plans, demonstrating a quilting plan for you. So if you're like, that sounds exciting, but starting from scratch is still kind of intimidating, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube, make sure you subscribe for the newsletter, and then you can walk this journey with me over the next few weeks, all right? The other link you're going to see is my Intro to Free Motion Quilting link, and that is my little baby beginner free motion quilting course. So if you're like, oh, I've been wanting to learn how to free motion quilt, and these panels look really cool, but I don't know how to do this, Intro to Free Motion Quilting will teach you your first 4 motifs this weekend. All right, so by the time your panels get to you, you'll be ready to give it a whack. All right, this is the fall table runner. Oh, I love that one so much. So we chose to use some pretty seasonal colors for these because I love the idea of you being able to practice your free motion quilting and make yourself a whole set of seasonal decor. And finally, my personal favorite, the Lanterns of Hope. The Lanterns of Hope quilt panel. This one got a little bit dirty during a photo shoot, that's so funny. So this is one of my favorite quilt patterns that I've ever designed, and I'm so excited for it to be printed because what a fun way to get to practice your quilting on this. And then again, you can piece it in any colors that you want, many, many, many different sizes, using the pattern that's also available. All right, so there's the fall winter colorway. Let's do the spring summer colorway, and then we'll do a little bit of quilting together. Havana, what trouble are you causing? Let me check on the dog, you guys. Real life. The real life strikes again. Ma'am, what you doing? You're not chewing on this, are you? I hope not. You're not chewing on this, are you? Come here. Boop, boop. Go get it. All right, I think she's just peeking under the curtains at the door, as a little doggo does. All right, so this is the spring summer colorway. And the Quilting Rockstar 2 thread collection. Yes, Joan, as I mentioned at the top, the sound is not ideal. We're still in a new space that's quite echoey, so we're in the process of figuring out the best way to do some sound dampening and get a new mic. So, yes, I'm aware. All right, now, the spring summer colorway. I'm excited about this colorway because it's a new color palette for me. Now, the Quilting Rockstar 2 thread collection also has an emerald that's part of this collection, but it's currently on my long arm. So, you can see there's coordinating threads here, and it's the same 4 projects. So the table runner, the placemats, Star Island, and Lanterns of Hope. And there's a couple of colorways of each, or a couple of options. All right, so first up, summer placemats. Don't you just want to have a barbecue immediately with these? I love them. So, summer placemats. We'll run through these quickly since you've now seen the designs, have some ideas about how to use them. And then when I start quilting you guys, I'll bring the camera over here and that will help with the sound as well. Spring table runners. Star Island in the spring summer colorway. The spring placemats. Easter brunch, anyone? Happy first day of spring break, happy first day of spring. These would actually work really well even for St. Patrick's Day because they've got some good green on them. Let's see, summer table runner. Again, backyard barbecue, anyone. I think what's really cool about these as well is truly like, think about a backyard barbecue. Right? It's something that you want the table to look nice. It's a fun event with family and friends, but it's a barbecue. It's going to be messy. What I love about this panel, easy to whip up, do an all over design. You know, don't put anything too blood, sweat, and tears into the quilting of it. Put a binding on it, and you're good to go. Your table will look lovely, relatively low investment, and then when it's done, throw it in the wash. You know, add some OxyClean, right? Get any little barbecue stains out, and you'll have these perfect little barbecue table runners for the backyard. And then spring, summer lanterns of hope. All right, so guys, those are the Quilting Rockstar panels and coordinating threads. We have coordinating solids for all of these as well. So if you've been looking for an easier, faster way to free motion quilt and practice your free motion quilting and not have to be worried about ruining a quilt that you have spent hours and hours and hours piecing, these are your intermediate step from in between your practice sandwich, you know, the scrap fabric that you pull out, make little practice sandwiches to work on, and working on your actual quilts. These can be the intersection of I'm ready to work on something that feels like a real quilt, but has some lower stakes to it, right? All right, so on that note, I'm gonna bring the camera around. If you get motion sick, you know, refill your coffee while I'm doing this. And we're gonna do a little bit of quilting on the fall, winter lanterns of hope together. Let's see, I'm gonna move my laptop. Let's see if it's stable. I'm gonna back up and let you guys see the current jerry rigging we're doing for audio. We're doing our very best, you guys, and I promise it will continue improving as we research microphones and sound panels and all the things. It's just part of adapting to the new studio space. So we have very, very high ceilings, which are beautiful, and they make the space feel very open, but they do impede our quality audio, unfortunately. So it's a work in progress. And what I love about being with rock stars like yourselves is that we are all works in progress. And we know that that's kind of how we do life around here. It's not a perfect thing, it's not a finished thing, but it's a good start. Patricia, I love that you clicked over and saw just how good the prices on these are. So the Aurifil thread collections are a usual kind of Aurifil price for a 6-spool box. They're gonna run you like $75 for the 6 large spools, but all of the panels are under $20. Absolutely incredible. So, you know, like this little throw size Lanterns of Hope quilt, you know, I would estimate, you know, you'd put 40, 50 bucks maybe into the fabric of it, plus the time of the cutting and the piecing, and instead being able to, I gotta take my shoes off, y'all. I can't quilt with them on, or with the shoe on. But instead you get to jump straight into the quilting, and honestly just at a much affordable price. So yes, Georgia, all of the panels are between $16.95 and $19.95, I believe. And then there are bundles that you can get all of one colorway if you prefer that. All right. The official video for Lanterns of Hope will be out shortly, but in the meanwhile, let's talk this through. As I mentioned, I'm going to be having YouTube videos and blogs coming out for every single, I'm going to bring y'all a little closer, improve our audio. I'm going to have YouTube videos and blogs coming out for every single panel in the coming weeks. And in those videos, I used 4 motifs: swirls, switchbacks, meander, and loopy meander. These are the 4 motifs that I teach inside of Intro to Free Motion Quilting. So the blogs will have other quilting plans drawn out as well. But I wanted to start with these really foundational motifs because I know some of you guys maybe have been putting off learning free motion quilting because you're scared of ruining your quilts. And you've been thinking about taking intro, or you've been thinking about taking Free Motion Quilting Academy, but making the jump from taking a class to working on your own quilt still feels so big and so high stakes that you haven't done it yet. Now we have these panels as an intermediate step, and I wanted to show you how you could take Intro to Free Motion Quilting this weekend, the class you can take in an afternoon, a couple hours of practice on each motif, and you honestly will be ready to tackle your first quilt. Your motifs will not be perfect, but you'll be off to a very, very good start. I wanted to show you how you could take just simple motifs and make really lovely quilting plans and make these quilts look really, really cool. All right, let's see. Patricia said, panels like this are awesome for practice. You feel relaxed and not worried and do lots better learning. Exactly, yes, Patricia. Dawn, right here, I am using Orfil 2600. So you can see I did some stitch in the ditch in between where the blocks would be on this Lanterns of Hope quilt. I was mentioning during the Rockstar Guild live earlier this week that I'm glad that I did that because it secured the quilt really nicely, but because I'm using such a high contrasting thread, it is making my navy sections look a little messy, which isn't my favorite. You know, if I were doing it again, I would probably be using navy thread in the navy sections and then maybe gray in the rest, but was also really wanting to demonstrate, you know, not necessarily having a lot of thread changes. Though, please remember, the Quilting Rockstar thread box has all of the coordinating colors. So if you wanted to do matching thread on every single section of this, you absolutely could. Where are my gloves? Here they are. I was like, this is not gonna work. Not gonna work. Jan says, if you have not taken Holly Ann's FMQ, you're missing out. It's amazing and fun and you can do it. Oh, Jan, thank you. Free Motion Quilting Academy will be back next month at the end of August, but you can jump into Intro now. Intro, honestly, we really just redid Intro. I haven't even announced this yet. We redid Intro this week so that because the material from Intro to Free Motion Quilting basically is Unit 1 of Free Motion Quilting Academy, we updated Intro this week so that truly when you enroll in Intro, you're getting Unit 1 of Free Motion Quilting Academy. So you really get a taste for the video quality, how I teach the lessons, you get a firm foundation, and then when you jump into the Academy, you get a great review of those things, and then we go on to learn like 26 more motifs together. Yep. Patricia, this is a Juki J150. So it's a big industrial machine, basically. And it serves my purposes perfectly. Honestly, everyone I know who has one loves it. But it's not the machine for everyone because it only has straight stitch. So you can piece and you can quilt. And that's what this machine is designed to do, which, you know, y'all who know me, that's exactly what I do. So what I'm doing here is just filling in swirls. The rule, if you will, of the quilting plan on this quilt is that we do swirls in the navy, switchbacks in the mustard and the orange, and then this is actually the strike off of this panel. So this gray is very light. It's darker on the final panels. But the light blue and the gray and the off-white, we meander. So that's the rule, and it makes it very easy to just move around and not have to overthink the quilting plan. And Jan brings up a great point that Intro to Free Motion Quilting or Free Motion Quilting Academy is for any machine from the smallest domestic machine all the way up to long arms. And in fact, one of the videos we just were working on was with me working on my old Singer that is a much more standard throat space, etc. Really the biggest difference between working with a large throat space like this and working with a small throat space is that you're just gonna have to stop more often and reposition your quilt. But you can quilt very large quilts on small machines, and I truly have students on every machine you can think of, from featherweights to big old Bernina, long arms, and whatnot. Yep. Jan, thank you for bringing that up. Georgia says, what size are the panels? So most of the panels are approximately like 42 by 43 inches or 42 inches square. They're like all right at like width of fabric square, within an inch or two. Yep, great question. I'm actually gonna echo the swirl because I want this space over here to feel filled in, which may not have strictly been necessary because, you know, the binding will probably cover that, but that's okay. All right, as I'm getting to the top of this navy section, I'm gonna need to pull my quilt up on the table. Remember that gravity is pulling your quilts down at 9.8 meters per second squared. So it's really important to make sure you keep your quilt up on the table. Even a big wide table like this, that little bit pulling off the edge. Oh, I actually skipped a stitch when it was pulling, look at that. So it's important to make sure that you're reducing drag on your quilts as much as you can. All right, from here, I think let's maybe do swirls all the way up into this corner. And then we will switch back. Do I like that? We will switch back all the way around, jump in, meander, travel using one of the switchbacks out to fill in swirls. And we'll end the meander here so that we can fill in swirls and go up to here, and then we'll work this block and we'll go from there. All right. So when I'm working a quilting plan like this, where I have basically a rule about what kinds of motifs go where, I navigate across the quilt as I go. So I didn't necessarily sit down and draw out the whole quilting plan with arrows to know how I wanted to move from point A to point B, etc., etc., etc. I just work a section at a time, thinking through, all right, how do I navigate across part of this quilt without missing any spots? And worst case scenario, I do like what I had to do. Which block was it? One of these blocks. I had missed it when I went past the first time. And so I just went back in and did it, and you know, it has a couple of thread breaks that I'll need to bury, but that is not the end of the world. I am all for efficient quilting, but part of efficient quilting is sometimes knowing when you can make a plan on the fly in terms of how you're going to navigate, and knowing that you can always go back in and catch any spots that you missed. And giving yourself permission to not necessarily know exactly the order you're going to cover every single bit of your quilting. Let's see. Shane says, will we need to piece the backing or can we use with the fabric? So I did piece the backings for these because I wanted a little bit of extra. If you've got a backing that airs on the wide side, you will sometimes be able to use it. So for example, if you've got one of the panels that is like 42 inches squared, then you could get like 1.5 yards and you'll have 1 inch to spare on either side. So you'll want to baste really, really well. But because these are not pieced, they don't have a lot of ease in them. So as long as you have positioned it well, when you are putting it down on the backing, you could probably get away with doing with the fabric. That's a really great question. Georgia says, we are on the road for a visit to Colorado. My turn to drive. Keep up the great lesson and positive attitude. Oh, Georgia, I'm so glad you got to tune in. It's always lovely to see you. And have a safe drive. Y'all are up early and moving and grooving. And honestly, a road trip to Colorado sounds amazing. So notice here, I'm just adding some little echoes, just filling in the space. They look a little funky right now, all these little like bits where I've added echoes, but especially once this whole thing is done and the quilt is washed, it'll just make sure that the texture is consistent. Gotta pause for a sip of coffee. This is still my first cup of joe this morning, guys. Can you believe that? I'm usually at least on cup number 2 by now. It is a slow and rainy morning here in Duluth. It is supposed to basically rain right through Food Truck Friday, and then it's gonna stop. And something made a funny sound. I might be running out of bobbin, we'll see. No, we're good. Heather and I were laughing this morning because we were like, could it not just like rain till 4 o'clock and then clear up just in time for Food Truck Friday? Like, because right now it's scheduled to quit raining right as Food Truck Friday would end. So we shall see. If you're new around here, Food Truck Friday is an event that my town does during evenings in the summer. There's live music. There are food trucks, as you may have gathered. We all hang out on the town green. It's great fun. Marie, you're watching from the lake? That sounds incredible. All right, I gotta decide. So, I'm gonna be doing switchbacks. My definitive preference is to work switchbacks going the other way from this. We're gonna give it a whirl anyway. All right, here we go. I'm working right to left. I usually like to work left to right. But we are positioned to work right to left. I'm using the edge of my free motion quilting foot as a guide. And notice here, see how I'm lifting my hand? It's because the needle's getting close. I waited till I was on a straightaway, and now I can slide my hand over to the side. Again, make sure your quilt is not dragging off the where. That drag from gravity is, it's a drag. What can I say? Oh, that was like a dad joke. Sorry, guys. Havana left. Havana was under the tripod, and then I said that. She's like, yep, nope, I'm gonna go lay on my bed. That joke was too bad. So with switchbacks, you will notice, I just go all the way to the end. I'm actually gonna retrace back up to restart. I go all the way to the end and then I turn the whole thing 90 degrees, all right? Guys, what questions can I answer for you about the Quilting Rockstar panel collection, the thread collection, the coordinating solids, how to use these? I'm gonna be here every Friday for at least the next 6 or 7 weeks, just working through these panels together. As you probably saw as I showed you all the quilts that are around me right now, I have a lot of these in progress. So I'm gonna be quilting a lot of these panels myself over the next few weeks. And I would love to know, what questions you have, what would you hope to see? Are there any immediate questions I can answer for you? One thing that I do wanna mention is if you are international, you're outside the US and you're tuning in, we are actively researching the best way to add international shipping to the String and Story shop. We don't have the answer on that yet. I'm hoping to have an answer, later today or next week. In the meanwhile, if you are outside the US and you're looking for a way to purchase the Quilting Rockstar collections, reach out to your local quilt shop and send them the URL that is pinned at the top of this video and say, hey, can we get these panels and threads locally? I'd really like to get my hands on them. I'd love to shop local. And see if they would be willing to bring them in stock. Because again, I think these are gonna be an absolute incredible way to practice your free motion quilting, an absolutely incredible way to give handmade gifts that don't have quite so many blood, sweat, tears, and possibly curse words in them, especially, God, we're 6 months out from Christmas. So think about, picture this, right? Take Intro to Free Motion Quilting and get panels to make gifts for some of the people that you were planning on making handmade gifts for anyway. And use these panels to really practice these foundational motifs over the next 6 weeks with me. After the next 6 weeks, we're going to be heading into the Quilting Plan Challenge again, so talking about how to make your own quilting plans of what to quilt where. And then Free Motion Quilting Academy will be back. So you could have a really strong foundation for your basic free motion quilting motifs. You could go ahead and get a jump start on Christmas gifts, and you can set yourself up for success to jump into Free Motion Quilting Academy next month, so that by Christmas, you're quilting 30 motifs, doing custom quilting plans, and you are confident to be quilting your own quilts. Amazing way to wrap up 2021? Yes. Marie says, I'm gonna order the placemats. Do you quilt them first and then cut them apart, or the other way around? Quilt them first. That way you only have to baste one thing. Now, if you're like super nervous about maneuvering underneath your machine, of course you could cut them apart first, right? But I think they will stay more square and just be so much easier to quilt, right? So you could do an all over design. You could do some semi-custom work like I've been doing. Everything that I've been doing has been semi-custom. So 2 to 3 motifs, just adding a nice little touch, right? Great question, Marie. Y'all who are on long arms, load the whole thing on your long arm, right? Quilt it all up, take it off, cut it apart, then bind it. So exciting. Patricia, yes, you definitely could do some embroidery in the center blocks. In fact, I was just talking to my girl Kate over at Tough Kitten Crafts. So those of you who machine embroider, if you do not yet follow Kate over at Tough Kitten Crafts, she is here on YouTube. You can subscribe here, then go over and subscribe there. She's also over on Instagram, Tough Kitten Crafts, etc., etc. So if you need a resource, Kate's your girl. But Kate and I were talking yesterday about how she wants to do some videos and whatnot about embroidering on these, because think about those sawtooth star blocks. You could definitely, you can embroider a monogram in there. Like think about like the winter ones, right? That are like the light blue and silver and navy. So classic. Embroider those with a monogram. Fabulous wedding gift, right? Or embroider some snowflakes. Just really elevate the whole situation. And a great opportunity then not only to practice free motion quilting, but also to practice your machine embroidery. It just keeps getting better, you guys. So see how I'm just working my way around here. We got one more side, and then we will do the meander, and I'll show you how I'm going to cut out to resume my swirls, and then we'll probably call it a morning, and I'll let you guys get back to drinking your coffee and going on your road trips, etc., etc. Oh my gosh, y'all, or if you did the placemats as a tote bag too, and embroidered a monogram on it, and then it turns into a monogrammed tote. Oh, and you could do them front and back, and then you would have 3 tote bags from one panel. That sounds like girls trip swag waiting to happen. You know what I mean? Oh, so good. So this right here, this is exactly the point of these sessions together. I want to show you how to quilt them. I want us to kick ideas around about ways to use them. We designed these panels with versatility in mind, but I also know that we're only beginning to scratch the surface of ideas for ways to use these. And I want to hear about all of your ideas, all of your successes. It's going to be so good. All right, so what I'm going to do here, because I mentioned I want to be able to get over here without breaking thread, is I'm going to meander kind of down and around, kind of in like a upside down U. And then I'm going to jump right into where this little switchback is. See where it touches the white and gray here, or the blue and gray? And then I'm going to retrace that and retrace back down to be able to swirl, okay? So let's do that together. And you can imagine if I tried to make decisions like that about navigating this quilt before I started quilting, I would very quickly get bogged down and never get to the actual quilting. It would feel very overwhelming. So what I did instead is I chose my 3 motifs. I chose where on this quilt top each motif was going. And I drew that out. I drew that out on my iPad so that I could see how these motifs would play together. From there, I've just been going section by section to decide
what I want to decide how I want to navigate, right? Because again, I can always go back and catch a spot that I missed, but I didn't want to get bogged down in over planning. So with making quilting plans, we want to make decisions about what we're going to quilt where, but we also don't want to get so caught up in it. All right, so see, I'm right on this line of stitching. We also don't want to get so caught up in it that we never start because we're too busy planning. All right, from here, I think I actually can just go straight into my swirl. So I'm keeping it kind of small because I'm going to go around like this and then use an echo to make my way back. And then I'm ready for the next one. All right, Rockstars, just like that, a quick lesson in one possible quilting plan for the new fall winter lanterns of pattern, as well as how I am navigating as I go. Thank you so much for being here with me this morning as we took a look at the new Quilting Rockstar panels and thread collections. I hope you'll click that link at the top of this chat and go over, check out the panels, check out the threads, check out the resources that we have available for you, and don't forget to hit subscribe here on YouTube as well. I'll see you next Friday.